Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you're all doing well. A very interesting news day. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Grayscale Investments, the digital asset management firm operating under the Digital Currency Group umbrella, is adding support for Stellar Lumens with a new investment product, keeping in mind that Grayscale is the exact same company that we spoke about 3 weeks ago, who owns 1% of all the Bitcoin in the world. So this entire news story could be potentially interesting if you kind of read between the lines. The company announced on Thursday that it was launching the Stellar Lumens Trust, a single asset investment product which exposes investors to Lumens, the native asset of the Stellar network. Grayscale already offers single asset trust funds for a number of other cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Zen, Litecoin, XRP, and Zcash. The Stellar blockchain was built as a low-cost payment network, Grayscale notes in the press conference, with the goal of providing impoverished communities with access to financial services. Never heard that before in my life. Founded by Jed McCaleb, the Stellar project has notably attracted the interest of IBM, which is building a cross-border payment rail on top of the network. In the statement, Grayscale Managing Director Michael Sonnenschein noted that the launch of this product will expand our coverage of the digital asset universe. The company will continue to provide investors access to established blockchain projects with substantial traction and resources. Grayscale's announcement comes on the heels of it reassuring existing customers that an investment vehicle for for Ethereum Classic like a day or two ago, I didn't have it in the news. We know about the 51% attack that happened on the Ethereum Classic network, and they had like an entire, not press conference, but it was like a very big thing where they were trying to reassure people who had invested in their trust, as they include Ethereum Classic, that nothing was wrong, the coins were still safe, so and so and so, what have you. No explicit directions on exactly what role Lumens is going to play in the trust, or exactly how much of it that they're going to acquire. As of right now, I mean, from what we've seen before in the past from Grayscale, they hold, like I said, an enormous amount of the other cryptocurrencies that they're in. I don't have any inner workings as to exactly why they accept certain coins. As you know, they say they want market leaders. If you have the economic capacity to be able to acquire 1% of all the Bitcoin that exists in the world, you probably have a huge backing behind you, or huge reserves that many people just simply aren't talking about. So I wonder exactly how many lumens that they're actually going to try and acquire for themselves, or for the project, or for the whatever the case might be. I think it's very Grayscale, for some reason, and I don't exactly know what it is. It could be, once again, because a lot of people maybe just aren't or haven't been in traditional finance. Maybe traditional finance is just something that doesn't really appeal to them, or they don't kind of get the gravity of a situation like this. When you have, and I mean this as far as like, I think people aren't really paying attention to the name Grayscale. It doesn't say Binance, it doesn't say Coinbase, it doesn't say Kraken. Like it just seems like a name that a lot of people, even in crypto, don't really mention, whether it be on podcasts, whether it be on articles, whether it be on blogs, vlogs, whatever you call this. I think a lot of people are looking at Grayscale as if it's just like a name. Like, they have a lot of power behind them. You can't acquire that many cryptocurrencies without having billions behind you. And even the fact that more people weren't even commenting on, or to be fair, or rather honest, I think a lot of people weren't commenting on the fact that Grayscale holds 1% of all Bitcoin, because this leads to a centralization conversation, which a lot of Bitcoin people don't want to have. I like to have these conversations because it shows the interest in the market. Like, if you want to talk about institutional investors getting into the space, talk about multiple twins and companies and countries and institutions who own huge percentages of Bitcoin. The entire point to this is the fact that they've announced that they're going to be holding Lumens. There has to be something happening behind the scenes. Like, these, as a multi-billion-dollar company who has invested so much in these other cryptocurrencies, you have to assume that they're also betting big on these names as well. Like, these aren't, Zen may have thrown me a bit off. Maybe it's someone inside their company who owns Zen, or who has created Zen. I don't know the exact specifics, but one must assume that with this much money flowing behind them, that the idea of adding Lumens didn't happen randomly. They must see some bright future for Lumens, or they're just betting on it very heavily because they like the name and they like the way that it sounds. Which one sounds more correct? It's very, and I don't really know what it is. A lot of people are so focused. This is someone was asking me yesterday in the live stream, did I ever think that the market would recover from the bear market? Absolutely. There's far too much happening in the background. I think everyone is so concerned with the prices as they are right now. Why isn't this moving up? Why isn't this going anywhere? And they're not, like, 1% of all Bitcoin is a lot of Bitcoin, especially when it's believed, what is it, like 20-30% of it is completely gone and lost forever at the bottom of the sea or inside of computers that have been completely destroyed and dismantled. Like, these things will never be recovered again. Like, I wonder if as the year goes on, we're going to have or receive information from Grayscale as to exactly how many lumens they hold, because I think that'll be like an uptick for a lot of people. So many people just aren't paying attention to behind the scenes. Like, if everyone paid more attention to the companies who are accumulating cryptocurrencies as opposed to what the prices are right now, I think things would be a lot clearer and people would be not as mean-spirited as they have been. The last like 3 or 4 weeks, I think people really need to go outside and get some fresh air, because the amount of evil comments that I've seen on my comment section towards me and towards other people has just completely skyrocketed. I know we have to get to like a misery and despair portion of like a market drop, but I mean, it's just completely insane. Anyway, the point is, this is incredibly fascinating to me. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people won't even mention this in the cryptocurrency space, but I mean, Grayscale is a force to be reckoned with, and no one seems to be acknowledging just how much like economic power that they actually have behind them. Like, if you get proper numbers of exactly how many things that they have, and people realize that there's a huge scarcity of these coins that they've been buying up, this causes prices to move. But lo and behold, people are concerned more with the numbers floating on their screen than they actually are about the actual adoption of these coins. But let's move on. Next up, South Africa is in the news. Moaning Bitcoin in South Africa just got a little harder, and you'll see as I continue to read forward, or at least it will do so by the end of Q1 of this year, that is March of 2019. According to a consultation paper published yesterday by the South African Reserve Bank, or the SARB, some hefty new regulation surrounding exchanges and ATMs is about to be enforced. The paper points to several problems that cryptocurrencies present that spur the need to develop to have a proper regulatory response. Among these, it states that crypto assets may have a serious impact on the financial sector in the country, and that they present too many opportunities for regulatory arbitrage. This is one of the first cases that we've actually seen, and I applaud them for their honesty. Every other country that we've seen before, whether it be the US, whether it be European countries, whether it be certain countries in Asia, what have you, every single time that they release a paper or something explaining if cryptocurrencies are a risk, the answer is always no. They say, no, crypto's far too small. It's not a risk to us. Maybe in a couple years we'll come back to the discussion. They're the first ones who have actually, you don't go through this much trouble. You don't take a year to make regulations. You don't have a consultation paper that's written by the Reserve Bank of your country talking about cryptocurrencies being a risk. If you have to think about it or talk about it, that means that it's actually true. You don't worry about something that isn't a risk to you. Like, you don't worry about plants as you walk down the street. If you took a year to check out all the plants in your area and you wrote like a dissertation about if plants are dangerous to you, you probably think that plants are dangerous, not that cryptos are plants, but you understand kind of what I'm saying. They said crypto assets do not fit neatly within the current regulatory framework. This means, they argue, that they must draft new legislation, particularly at a time of growing interest from the public. The paper also points to other problems with cryptocurrency, including the rising number of scams and hacks. Currently, none of the consultation paper's proposed approaches to regulate Bitcoin have been enforced. The paper is still open to the public until the 15th of February. It's a double-edged sword type of conversation. Every country is so desperate to regulate Bitcoin, but you cannot really regulate Bitcoin. You can say that you can't use it or that someone cannot have access to it, but people in your country would still logically be able to create a new wallet and therefore use the system. So I wanted to say out loud, I want to see countries regulate it and or figure out a way to stop Bitcoin, because even in China, there was a the podcast, I think it was Unconfirmed, Laura Shin's one. She has Unconfirmed and Unchained, her podcast. And I think it was Unconfirmed, where she had two people from China, if I'm not mistaken, talking about the cryptocurrency space. And they were talking about, like, while it's not explicitly illegal in China to trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies back and forth, people still figure out a way, obviously. But it's just this really weird situation where they keep talking about that they're going to do something, but they can't. Like, you can blacklist addresses, you can do all these other things, but there's still always a way around it. And there, as time goes on and we have other layers on it, it'll be even more difficult. It's very, very weird. I'll continue on. The IFWG formed a group to create this consultation paper. The group, called the Crypto Assets Regulatory Working Group, includes members from the SARB and the Treasury. Its aim is to forge a way forward for the regulation of cryptocurrencies in South Africa. That's a huge building. Traditional financial institutions and the country's reserve bank are laying down the way forward for crypto futures here. The actual really important part is somewhere around here. The paper is currently in a draft version and nothing is set in stone yet. However, the regulatory authorities will specify the way forward through a policy instrument, such as a guidance note or position published paper aimed for the first quarter of 2019. The Crypto Regulatory Work Group believes that regulation should not be delayed any further and that a clear approach is necessary. Some of the main actions that we'll be taking are regarding the monitoring of cryptocurrency transactions. So they want to monitor transactions. This will heavily focus on anti-money laundering and know your customer, and ensure that cryptocurrency exchanges, custodial services, and Bitcoin ATMs comply with existing South African financial security legislation. They will also need to register with the IFWG and comply with AML and CFT, combating the financing of terrorism conditions of the Financial Intelligence Center Act. Moreover, service providers will need to monitor user transactions, particularly large ones that may signal terrorist activity. Any service provider that fails to comply with these requirements will have sanctions imposed upon them. Very weird time in the world, in the cryptocurrency space. I understand the fear of countries, and when it comes to these things like this, you have to hear what I say. I believe the entire movement down in the market, we have market, what's it called? Market trends and stuff like that, and markets go up, markets go down. I still firmly believe tinfoil hat on the other side of the room. If anyone was here at the end of 2017 when we were having this huge explosion in cryptocurrency prices, a lot of it was based off of hype, but a lot of it was also based off of the future prospects for the cryptocurrency industry. And I thought it was kind of weird, as Bitcoin was edging to $20,000. I think it hit like 19,962, not even like that number. That same exact day, we had multiple countries coming out talking about that they were going to either ban cryptocurrencies or that they were going to regulate them, or that something was so and so and so. I think that was completely orchestrated. There's no way that all these countries at the exact same time, especially countries that hate each other, or at least pretend to hate each other on television, we're talking about this at the exact same time. And the market completely fell, as we all know. But throughout 2018, I still believe that all of these countries thought that crypto would disappear. I think a lot of when you are the leader of a country, or when you have ruled over a country for a very long time, not South Africa specifically, countries in general, was like 190 of them in the world or something like that. It's fairly easy to assume that some new digital trend that you have never heard of is going to simply splash and fall apart. I mean, we had fidget spinners, we had all the, you hear about these things on the news, you assume that everything is just a trend and it's going to go away, especially if you slam your hammer down and say, this is ridiculous, I'm going to impose something on this, or we're going to ban this. You scare people enough in your country because you're used to being able to say these things out loud and terrify people, and the people kind of go away from it. I still think that world leaders thought that crypto was going to completely vanish in 2018, that the trend would completely be over. And I think the fact that crypto has survived, it has also thrived. Prices may have gone down. We've spoken about this before in 2018. All the videos that we had, all the investment trusts who've been buying up as many of these cryptocurrencies as they possibly can, which people still aren't paying attention. No one's getting the actual picture of how little crypto there actually is out there, especially from all the over-the-counter buying. And I think that they thought that crypto was going to vanish. It was not going to be here. It was going to be something that by 2019 they could kind of move on, and we could kind of focus more on the declining stock market and the world's economy continuously crumbling and falling apart. Lo and behold, this is why this is not the first country that we've seen who's come forward talking about that we need to set regulations as soon as possible. Why is there such a huge rush for all of them right now to desperately need to find a way to get all of this under control? This is, in my opinion, if you are looking at the broader picture, every country right now is talking about that they're trying to fit in regulations within Q1 or the end of Q1 of 2019. That's January, February, and March of this year. The fact that they're all this also, it's also obvious. This also ties in with the entire launch of Bakkt and everything else, like the crypto market. So we have so many crypto experts and analysts and stuff like that who are talking about that the market's not going to recover at all in 2019. The desperation of these countries, the launch of all these other projects, the Bakkt, NASDAQ, Fidelity, all these things launching in 2019 is supposed to happen within Q1 of 2019. This is why I think there's a huge amount of desperation, because everyone wants to make sure that when these other projects are launched, that their countries aren't left behind, and that people within their countries pretty much they don't care about normal people. They care about the richest people. They want rich people to have a way to understand that they will not be penalized or will not be so-and-so, that when they do make their money from crypto, that they know exactly who they have to pay. It's all so obvious, like it's staring everyone right in the face. And this is why I think it's so weird when people think that crypto is going to go down this year. Every country's so desperate to get all this stuff in order because they're all trying to make sure that the richest people in their country can play in the game legally. For me, it's very obvious. Anyway, the point is that's pretty rough for South Africa. I wasn't expecting any better. I think a lot of countries right now are incredibly terrified of what cryptos are going to do. There's a very real fear, and this isn't me being like libertarian or like anarchist. Yeah, that's so cool. These countries are very afraid of losing their economic status because of cryptocurrencies. You have to see that there's like a real world fear for them in the idea that at some point some other country is going to become more crypto-centric than them, and that they are going to actually lose out. It's all lining up. So many people don't see it. I do. I know that makes me sound insane, but I really don't care. Like, just look back at all the news I think I made over like 800 videos. You can see the news. It's out there. Like, and like, it's not even that any of this has been like retracted or redacted, or like we haven't had these countries like announce that these things were happening. Like, we know that these things are happening. It's just, I guess it's just life. People will start paying attention when Bitcoin goes over 100,000 again. Next up, bankrupt US-based Bitcoin mining firm known as Gigawatt has been forced to shut down day-to-day operations. The firm sent an email to customers on Tuesday, a copy of which was obtained by CoinDesk, which states that while it had continued to operate in the 2 months since the bankruptcy filing, at present, both access and power to the facilities in Gigawatt operates have been closed to the company. Andre Kuzeni, director owning a more than 10% stake in Gigawatt, and an admin of the firm's official Telegram channel, confirmed to CoinDesk that the email was sent by the firm. When asked about further details, Kuzeni told CoinDesk he could not comment for legal reasons. This is yet another company, firm, organization, institution who is shutting down their mining operation. I understand. No, I kind of don't. There have been this is at least the 8th time that we've spoken about this. I think even just in 2019, people told me before that they wanted to hear about not closures and stuff, but they wanted to be more updated as to the things that were also happening behind the scenes, not just, cryptocurrency regulation, but also kind of things like this, so I understand. When you have the undertaking or you decide to become a mega cryptocurrency Bitcoin Ethereum miner, you should, in theory, and it hasn't happened yet, have a bit more of a financial stronghold. And I don't mean you have to be super rich. I mean, understand that there are risks to cryptocurrency mining. And the fact that we've had a bear market for just around 12 months now, if you want to go to the exact date, and so many of these companies have completely floundered and fallen apart, shows just an enormous mismanagement of funds. I don't know, and I think it's interesting that that there are definitely some of them who are doing relatively well. You know, you may not be able to profit explicitly from the price of Bitcoin right now when it comes to being able to mine one Bitcoin, but it's incredibly weird how many of these companies just did not foresee a future where there was going to be a bear market. Everyone tumbled into the market at the end of 2017. September, October, November, December 2017, everyone kind of piled in, created these huge mega factories. By the time the crash happened in January, by the time we got to around April, May, somewhere around there, people considered or thought that the market was going to go back up and therefore things would get a bit better. And I think they were overspending once again to try and buy more of these machines. If you are planning on building a huge mega giga mining factory, have your finances in order. If you're getting into crypto, if you plan on buying crypto, it sounds tacky and stupid. Never put in more than you can afford to lose. I think it's really insane that so many of these institutions and companies have completely washed out of the market. Like, know what you're doing. This isn't an easy cash grab. You have to understand that crypto has an enormous amount of risk to it when you try to get into it. Anyway, the point is, I saw this, and I saw there's like two other stories like this. I decided to focus on this one. Completely insane. Know what you're doing with your money if you decide to get into cryptocurrencies. Don't just I don't get it. Like, 12 months isn't that long of a time. Like, they expected the prices to go up forever and to continue to profit and to continue to be able to boast to their friends how much money they were making. They just did not foresee a possibility of prices ever going down. I don't understand life. I really don't get it. To not enter the political door, what we have right now is a very interesting situation that's happening in the United Kingdom, but is also, if this does end up happening, is going to spread to the rest of the world. For those who don't know, there's something called the Brexit, the British exit, if you kind of want to call it that. It is looking to simplify it as easy as possible, because I know there are a lot of people who aren't maybe abreast of the situation, or maybe who just aren't really understanding exactly what's going on. Maybe you just simply haven't turned on a TV. Maybe you don't have a TV. The point is that it seems like the United Kingdom at this point is going to be leaving the European Union on the 29th of March. What we've already seen economically is that a lot of companies have left London, which is kind of the economic powerhouse of the UK, if you kind of want to call it that. They've been leaving to Spain, they've been leaving to France, and they've been leaving to Germany. It appears that there's going to be a no deal situation wherein the EU and the United Kingdom do not come to a deal, and the United Kingdom leaves the European Union in like this situation. I mean, you kind of get what no deal means. Like, there are no tariffs and anything's put in place as to exactly what is going to happen. It's looking like, I mean, it's still 2 months away. The way that things have happened so far, it looks like this is going to continue. If we end up having a no-deal Brexit, what a lot of world economists are fearing is that the UK, rather the pound, will suffer greatly, as it has since around 2016, more or less, in like a decline in price against other currencies because of the what people are calling the economic instability of the region. If they do have a no Brexit deal, it's expected that the pound will actually continue to downtrend a bit further. The issue is that these rumblings, or this earthquake from the UK, may spread over into the European Union. And if that spreads into the European Union, it's expected that they could then hit parts of Asia or Russia. And yeah, we are entering a period, and we are finally here, like I said before, all these things were spoken about many years ago, and everyone kept on saying we would see the first rumblings of it in 2019 and subsequently in 2020. As far as to this financial crash, everything's wrong, everything's burning up in flames. It appears we're very close to it, and it seems like you wouldn't think that an event like this would cause economic collapse. However, I guess maybe just to read this part for those who actually aren't looking at the screen, who may be driving, please keep looking at the road. It says a no-deal Brexit on the 29th of March, where we crash out of the European Union, is a catastrophe. It's a social catastrophe. It's an economic catastrophe. I don't wish to be labeled a doom-mongerer, but if our economy contracts by 10%, that's a 1930-style contraction. There's a massive increase in credit card losses, mortgage losses, vehicle loan losses. This is about jobs. This is about people not being able to pay their mortgages, not being able to pay back their loans. And that's really bad news, and it's an outcome we can't avoid. A lot of companies have been leaving the United Kingdom in anticipation of even a potential Brexit. I just thought I'd touch on that. A lot of people are talking about this right now. It's at a very weird time where we also have U.S. stocks not doing relatively well, and economists and analysts across the board, especially in the United States, looking at the numbers and saying that either a stock market crash is going to happen this year or it's going to happen next year. I haven't seen more than 2 analysts who have announced that there's going to be no crash. Every single one has been announcing that something horrible is going to happen either this year or next year. And this is why I think it's very weird and kind of odd that so many banks and institutions are desperately trying to get into the cryptocurrency space after they've been looking through the numbers, and they have all come to the conclusion that there's going to be a stock market crash this year. And this seems to be the time frame, especially last year, where they're also desperately trying to get into the cryptocurrency market. And why no one else noticed this, why the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ called the cryptocurrencies the stock market 2.0. No one thought that was weird, that these institutions who've been dealing in stocks for hundreds of years decided to call crypto the stock market 2.0 as their analysts were talking about that the normal stock market was going to crash. No one aligned that. No one put that together. Anyway, the 29th of March, it may seem like it's far away. It's really not. And I think this is going to be a very interesting year economically, for crypto, for the stock market, I think for the world as a whole. But yeah, let's move on. Next up, in a new announcement, OKCoin has found the value that Tron provides. My gosh, that sentence. Adding the digital asset to their exchange. They join multiple other cryptocurrencies that can be exchanged with US dollars and Argentine pesos in pairs, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Lumens, Zcash, 0x, and several others. Here's the actual tweet for it. Tim Byun, the CEO of OKCoin, spoke on a decision to list Tron's token in the first place. He said, first thing we do, this is the probably the most important part of the entire article. He said, first thing we do, we have to abide by U.S. regulations. We are a money service business. We're operating out of the U.S. We're serving U.S. customers. So from a regulatory perspective, that's the clearest step one can take. So we spend a lot of effort on our compliance team and our legal team to ensure that whatever we list is not a security. We do not have an ATS or a broker-dealer license, so we cannot facilitate the trading of securities. We made sure that Tron, or TRX, the token, is used today as a utility, that there is a use case, that it passes the Howey test, kind of laid out by the prior rulings of an SEC case. That's the best that we have, end quote. When I saw this article, I thought it was incredibly interesting. To work backwards, we know that the SEC doesn't do anything. That they said that they were going to do something since 2017. They have not provided any regulatory clarity at all for anything in the cryptocurrency space, except that Bitcoin is a commodity. Someone from the SEC announced that in his eyes, Ethereum was not a security. And then someone backtracked a couple of weeks later talking about that nothing had been set in stone and everything that had been said by someone from the SEC pertaining to a particular coin was not an actual ruling, therefore still leaving Ethereum in this bit of a gray space. The fact that the SEC has not explicitly said whether any other coin is a security, and we've had other people talking about that they believe that anything that had an ICO is a security. I found this very interesting that the people from OKCoin said that they did their own due diligence, if you will, and decided amongst themselves that Tron was a utility and not a security. I've heard from multiple, people who I know in the industry, people on podcasts, people on television, people who spoke about the situation. They've said themselves that many times that the Tron token is a security. They've said that they've said the same things for Stellar Lumens because of how many tokens the Stellar Foundation actually holds. They've said the same thing for Cardano and many other coins as well. It's going to be very interesting, and I don't know if this is ever going to happen. I don't think the SEC at any point relatively soon is going to come forward and tell anyone that they're going to give like specifics on like each cryptocurrency. I don't know. I mean, if it's taken them this long to even think about how to regulate things, or 4 years to give a Bitcoin ETF, imagine how difficult it's going to be for them to do like a coin by coin basis. I feel like we'll be here for another 38 and a half years waiting for that. And at that point, we'll have a completely new list of top 10, 20, 30 coins. But the fact that they think that is quite interesting. I also note that they also have Lumens. They also have XRP. They also have Cardano. 0x was probably breezed through the same with Zcash as far as like, because Coinbase has listed them, and Coinbase also has a lot of lawyers. Now, they say that the people from OKCoin don't have a lot of lawyers, but I think we're going to have a very interesting situation because something in here is definitely a security. And when the SEC comes out and says, hey, this is a security, a lot of these exchanges are going to have a very difficult time. And then even more interesting is that you can't even gauge as to what the NASDAQ, Fidelity, and the New York Stock Exchange are going to list on their trading platforms, because they also all hold hundreds of documents and hundreds of things of paperwork that allow them to actually list securities. So that'll even be a weirder situation, especially because they don't have the actual paperwork to be able to list securities. I think it's kind of weird. Anyway, the point is, they've listed Tron. I hope that they do not get in trouble, because they're operating out of the U.S. and we at this point we get how the U.S. is when it comes to something that they don't like. They ban it. Yeah. To kind of finish things off, I guess I won't even really read through it. What it turns out to be is that, for those who don't know, Grin, the cryptocurrency that launched a couple of days ago, apparently has a lot of major interest behind it. Where is it? So and so. It says CoinDesk contacted several investors who were closely watching the launch of Grin, which is being developed using the technology known as Mimblewimble. Juan's partner at Primitive, his name is Eric Meltzer, wrote about Grin's launch in a proof of work newsletter this week. He said, "There is, by our conservative estimates, $100 million of mostly venture capital money invested into special purpose investment vehicles to mine Grin. This does a lot of weird things. It turns a bunch of people who would have been buyers of Grin into sellers of it. It changes the composition of the early holder roster, and it means the chain will launch with an extremely high degree of security via high proof of work hash rate." Like I said before, I think I said this in the live chat yesterday. Grin is expected, and this speculation, and I mean learn what the word speculation means, not financial advice. Grin is probably, maybe in the future, going to be extremely popular. A lot of people are comparing it to Bitcoin. Not that it's going to be as big as Bitcoin, but it embodies the spirit of what Bitcoin once was, and this is why a lot of people are taking to it. And the fact that there's going to, by their estimates, $100 million just to be able to mine Grin is something very interesting. What's more fascinating is that when this article actually came out a couple of hours, a day later, the price of Grin actually fell by 98%. because I mean, I assume the initial momentum was just a huge amount of hype, and a lot of people were questioning why Grin actually fell by 98%. No one does their own research, and if you did, especially the other people who kind of fell into it immediately, you would know that there's a Grin created every second, and this is not going to slow down ever. It's how the protocol is. So there's 60 Grin per minute is how this is going to continue. I think I think the price of one Grin was like $10 or something like that, and people were like, maybe this is slightly overvalued. I expected the price of Grin to be no more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cents at its launch. Is probably where it should be. No one's using it. It's all speculation, and the fact that there's going to be an infinite amount of Grin is probably a reason to not overvalue the coin, at least maybe not right now, unless there are tons of people, at least 300 to 500,000 people in the world who are actively using Grin. Anyway, I thought this was quite interesting. The amount of hype that's actually happening in the market. It's interesting to see exactly how this is going to develop. The craziest part, once again, is Grin was developed as a way to be equal for everyone. Like when you read through the actual proposition of what Grin is, they tried to, and I assume they're hopefully still going to do this. They were trying to make a coin that you could turn your computer on and be able to mine it yourself. And we already have, I don't want to use the word greedy. We already have people who have too much money, who are trying to take all the Grin for themselves. And it's like, this is, when we talk about decentralization, this is what it comes down to. Like, there is no actual decentralization, because if you already have money, it's very easy for you to make more money. And these people are trying to constantly control everything. Like this coin was made, if you even read through it, it was made so that everyone would have a fair and equal chance of being able to mine it themselves. If the, what's it called? If there's like a difficulty adjustment based on how many people are actually mining this cryptocurrency within a couple of years, it's going to be almost impossible. And a lot of these people have a head start. But I thought that price drop of 98% was interesting, at least for me. Like I said, Grin should be a couple of cents, maybe. No one knows if Mimblewimble even completely works. But yeah, at least my opinion on it. To finish things off, prices aren't doing too bad. They're still kind of going up and down, but floating sideways, if that makes any sense. Bitcoin's price hasn't really moved. I think Bitcoin was, even yesterday, was at 36, like 92 or something like that. For some reason, it can't pass 3,700. Who knows what the reason might be. Prices still aren't dropping, but I mean, yeah. Sorry if I sound a bit down today. I'm not at all. My nose is kind of stuffed, and I'm trying to talk a particular way so that you don't hear me sniffling every couple of seconds. Yeah, I think that's definitely going to do it for this video. It's a very weird news day. The cryptocurrency space is kind of all over the place. I think everyone is just so, I mean, you can't really fault people for trying to mine Grin and stuff like that, or, have a huge operation. 100 million is a lot, especially just for mining. Like, anyway, I think that's definitely going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening. Wherever you are, wherever you might be, this looks very catastrophic. Like, everyone's kind of losing their mind. 2019 is already, it's a bit of a crazy year already. We're 18 days into the year. My goodness. I'm expecting a lot more insanity as time goes on. Anyway, thank you all once again. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.